Good morning and happy Saturday, back from the UK, and this is me talking from the future. Well, I filmed the debrief video the day after the marathon, but there's been a couple of things since then that I thought I wanted to add in. So firstly, thank you so much to everybody who's liked, commented, watched the video. I've never had a response like that so far, so that's really heartwarming to see so many people watching it, liking it, like I said, interacting with it, so thank you. Secondly, I just wanted to make a note of the fact that I made a mistake with the year of Kelvin Kipton's world record. I think I said 2003. Thanks to those that pointed that out to me. I did realise it was 2023. I just said it wrong and then I couldn't go back and edit the whole audio, etc. So yeah, sorry about that. And then finally, I just wanted to make you all aware that I am also conscious of the fact that in this debrief video, I jump around a lot between talking about miles and talking about kilometres and my pace. And it's because I try and think in both. So yeah, I do flip between the two. I do give my Strava splits in both in the end, but yeah, I am conscious I do it, so sorry if you're just miles or just Ks. Hopefully you'll still kind of understand what I'm talking about. So without further ado, here is my debrief from the 2025 Chicago Marathon. Good morning and happy Monday from the day after the 2025 Chicago Marathon. So, some of you might already know what the result was, what happened yesterday, but I ended up running a 3 hour, 2 minute and 50-second marathon. So, for those of you that have watched the series up until now, you'd have known that my goal was really to try and run a sub 3. But I'm not disappointed, and I'll sort of go into why I'm not disappointed as I sort of talk through this, but I thought I'd give you a little bit of a blow-by-blow on yesterday, the race itself, how I felt, and then what I think on reflection I probably could have done differently to have trained better and to prepare myself a little bit better for the marathon. So let's get started. So first things first, obviously we're staying at an hotel about 2 miles away from the start. But we're out on a bit of a limb here, so there's no real public transport. It's called the Sable at Navy Pier. It's a beautiful hotel, but as you can see from the background, like the start is way in the distance over there. So I decided to get an Uber to the start in the morning, so got picked up about 5:20 and got to the start literally bang on 5:30 when everything was opening. In hindsight, it was probably a little bit early actually. I know all the sort of other YouTube reviews that I've read have said, get there early, but I ended up just sat there for probably 45 minutes, 50 minutes, just getting cold before I even needed to do my bag drop. I obviously went to the loo early, like before everything got busy, but I think that was a bit early. I think on hindsight, on reflection, I'd have probably got there a little bit later, between like 6 and 6:15. So bag drop was really smooth. Yeah, there was a bit of a queue, but it was nice and easy. Toilet queues when I got there were fine. I did have to go another couple of times, so yeah, as you know, obviously it got busier. The toilet queues got busy, and as at any major race, you'll still find people going in bushes and various other things along the course. I was in Corral B, so I got to my corral around about 7 a.m. It closed at 7:20, so I went in sort of into the main bit, did a little bit of a warm up, went to the loo again, and then got actually into the pen probably around about 7:05. Start was at 7:35. So the challenge I had was I drunk a lot of water that morning, and notoriously nerves, a lot of water meant that I needed a wee again. So unfortunately, it got to the start line 7:35, and I was desperate to go to the loo again. And I thought, okay, right, there's nowhere. I was like hemmed in. There was nowhere I could go at that point. I was like, I'm gonna have to run the first, however far until I find a toilet, go to the toilet and carry on and hope I don't lose too much time. Start goes, I think I started about 7:38, something like that. So I wasn't waiting around for long, but half an hour in the pen was long enough. So I literally, 200 yards up the road, got into the first tunnel, and there's like porta potties or portaloos there. So I dived in, went to the loo, came out, started running, and realised that I'd not done my shorts up properly. And they were like, because I had so many gels, and I had my phone, my GoPro, water bottle. It was basically my shorts falling down. I was like, oh, brilliant. So I ran another, 50 yards up the road until I could stop safely, because it was really congested. I didn't want to, get in front of anyone, and pulled off to the side. Redid my shorts, and by that point I'd probably lost a minute already. And I think if you look at my first K on Strava, it was a 5:37, and bearing in mind my average pace needed to be between sort of 4:10 and 4:15, to lose a minute 20 was a bad start. And it threw me off as well, to be honest, because my original strategy was to run with the 2:55 paces. They were way gone. And I didn't really have a B goal. And this is something that I'll come on in terms of like how I reflect upon the race. But I panicked a bit, and I was like, right, I've got to catch this time up as soon as I possibly can. Rather than thinking, okay, it's a minute over the course of 26 miles, 42k, that's what, a second and a half per K to catch up. But I didn't, and I went off a bit too quickly then and tried to catch up. And that was my first sort of big mistake, I think. So anyway, run miles 1 to 6, or up to 0 to 10k. I was probably averaging sort of between 4:05 and 4:10 a K, with the exception of the first K, obviously. Crowds amazing. Like, I had my shocks in, but to be honest, it was pointless, because obviously they're open ear, and I couldn't really hear my music for the crowds. So it was phenomenal. But got to 10k, and I was thinking, I'm not feeling amazing, probably because I've gone off too quickly, but it was sustainable for now, for the time being. Fortunately, I'd seen Claire at a couple of points as well, so I saw her at about mile 1 and about mile 3, so that was nice to sort of see a friendly face. But yeah, got to 10k, and I was like, oh, I could be in a bit of trouble if I carry on like this.
I'm not feeling amazing, but yeah, 20 miles to go. Let's see what we can do.
However, I sort of maintained my pace. The other thing that I probably did wrong, one of the other mistakes that I made, was that I did not have my watch on my pace or my heart rate screen. And I decided to do that fairly last minute. I've trialled it in a couple of runs previously. You might have seen on some of the previous vlogs that I trialled doing that, just to sort of run on the field. And what I did was every now and again just sort of twisted to have a look at my heart rate, to have a look at my pace, but for the most part I didn't have it on. So I was clearly getting a bit giddy.
I ran that last mile in 6:25. I've got to slow down a bit, I'm getting carried away.
So again, clearly pace-wise, and I was manually lapping, so I knew what I was running mileage-wise. Every mile I'd manually lap, so I knew what I was doing there. But it was all, it was 6:35, 6:37, a little bit quicker than I wanted to be going, just because I wasn't able to slow myself down. I was sort of getting caught up with the crowds a bit, even so far into the race, even at miles 8, 9, 10. So I then got to about mile 12 and a half, and I saw Claire again. So this is when you come back into the city. So you do the northern loop out up into the sort of north of Chicago, and then you come back down into kind of downtown and the river area. And that's where I saw Claire for the third time at mile 12 and a half. And at that point I was thinking, yeah, I've still got a long way to go, or halfway basically, or over halfway to go. And it was starting to feel a little bit tough. And then stupidly, I ran my second fastest kilometre of the entire race. I don't know where it came from, I don't know why I did it, but I ran like a 3:55 or a 3:56 kilometre at either 22 or 23, I think. And again, I just think I put it down to the fact that I just wasn't, I didn't have the pace on my watch, and I don't know. So carry on. Start feeling it at about mile 16, so what's that, about mile 26, K26, 27. And I'm thinking, okay, this is, I've got 10 miles to go, still a really long way to go. And yeah, it was starting to heat up as well. And I'm thinking, okay, this is now where gets tricky. And I got to mile 18 and I thought, okay, this is 30k now, 12k to go. I don't think I can carry on. I don't think, like, I've got it in me to carry on at this pace now. And so I started just easing off gradually. So I started, I think it's like 7:01, 7:10, and it starts getting tougher and tougher. And I see Claire at 21 and a half, and I said to her, yeah, I'm struggling now. I am struggling. However, what I hadn't quite sort of appreciated was that I said to her, I'm just jogging it in. But actually I was still doing about 7:30 a mile. So it wasn't like I was, really, walking, or I didn't walk at all. The only time I stopped was to see Claire at 21 and a half, gave her a quick kiss and went, but I didn't walk at all. But actually I was running, 7:30 a mile-ish, 4:45 a K, but it felt like I was going a lot slower. And hence I think on one of the clips I say, I'll probably finish in under 3:10. I was 3:02. I was much closer to 3 than I think I realised. I actually don't think it would have changed anything though, to be honest, because 3 minutes over 8 miles is still quite a drop off in pace. I still would have had to really go some. One thing I also forgot to mention was at the very beginning, I stupidly stopped my watch when I went for the wee after 200 yards. So in my mind, I was always playing catch up and always adding roughly a minute onto my time. Well, actually, turns out I'd probably stopped for about 1:20, 1:30 when you look at that first K split. So so I was always trying to do the maths again, like using energy I didn't need to use to try and work out what I was doing. So mile 21 and a half, saw Claire, said, look, I'm just going to jog it in, and then maintained that sort of pace really right up until the finish. And got to the finish, 3:02.50. I didn't sprint finish because it really wasn't about the time at that point. And I think I said on the video, I just wanted to enjoy those last sort of 4 or 5 miles and embrace it, because in the previous video, I think I said A goal was PB, B goal was under 3 hours, C goal was just enjoy it. And I knew I was in the realms of, right, it's now C goal, let's just enjoy it, let's embrace being in Chicago, having qualified on an amazing day with 52,000 other people, incredible crowds, and just enjoy those last 4 or 5 miles. And for the most part, other than the fact I was flagging a bit, I did. And that was it really. So that was kind of the race itself. What went wrong? I think there's a few things really. I think in my heart of hearts, and maybe you might have picked up on this in a few previous videos, I'm not sure I was in sub-3 shape coming into this. And I think the illness that I'd had, or the illnesses that I'd had in the kind of weeks leading up to the marathon, probably like 3 or 4 weeks ago, actually really knocked me for 6. All my runs post those illnesses, because I had one before Spain, one after Spain, my heart rate was higher on easy runs, my perceived effort felt harder than it should have done at those easy runs, and I think those illnesses did set me back more than I realised. I then obviously had the Hospice Half Marathon win, which I think maybe gave me an unrealistic expectation of where my fitness was at. So that was one thing. 2, I'll say it, but I didn't do any strength and conditioning other than a couple of times in those first few weeks. And I know that I've got to do anything more than I do, because I'm 40, a 40-year-old man, and it's important. I've got to do it, so I have to do more strength and conditioning. So that's one of the other reasons. 3, I actually just don't think my training was good enough this time. I don't think it was specific enough. I feel like I should have done more longer, harder efforts to really get those legs fatigued. So when it started getting hard between 18 and 26, I was prepared for that. And I think if I'd done more of those sort of harder efforts at the longer mileage, or tried to fatigue my legs a bit more, I might have put myself in a better place. What will be interesting to see, and I know I did some analysis a couple of videos ago around the training blocks. But what I didn't include was how many sort of long runs I'd done and what type of long runs I'd done. Had done like hard efforts, intervals, fartleks, and I think that would be interesting to compare this time as well, because I don't think I did enough. I think I sort of relied on just banking a couple of 20-mile runs and thinking I'll be fine. So I think I need to work on that. And then strategy, like, I'm a planner, generally a planner in life, and as soon as those 2:55 paces went and I had to go to the loo, I didn't have a plan B. I was thrown. I was suddenly, right, I've got to catch up. And instead of kind of taking stock of the situation and going, okay, right, plan B is this, I panicked a bit. And what you don't want to do is go off too quickly in a marathon, and that's exactly what I did. I think, again, through Strava, it said I ran a Strava half in 1:25:12 yesterday. So at some point, probably between kilometre 2 and kilometre 23, I actually ran a 1:25 half, which was stupid and way, way quicker than I wanted to be going. So yeah, no plan B, and I should have taken stock of things. And then the final one, I think, is mental resilience. I was in my head the whole time yesterday, and I think I went in not feeling confident, and that reflected on how I felt on race day. Even on the start line, you should feel excited and nervous, and I was just a bit anxious. I think I knew it was going to be a tough race, and I was in my head. I was thinking this is going to be hard, and so I need to work on that. I absolutely need to get better on the mental side of things as well. So there we go. That was the Chicago Marathon 2025. All that being said, I am genuinely proud with how it went yesterday. A 3:02:50, it's still my second fastest ever marathon. I didn't stop to walk. I gritted it out. I got to the finish line in a really respectable time. I came in the top 10%, I think 4,750th or something. And it was really nice to have Claire here. Like, she saw me like 5 times. We had a lovely afternoon, and it was it's been a great trip. So I'm not disappointed. I've got a lot of learnings, which I think is good. I can reflect on yesterday's performance and know that I've got some learnings to take from it. But yeah, there we go. So I have got another marathon lined up in April. So I will be taking a little bit of downtime, probably do the cross-country season with the Harriers, and then start ramping up again for that towards the back end of this year, with a view to, who knows what my goal will be. Maybe we'll just see how the training goes. But thank you everyone for watching this series, and hopefully you will stick around for the videos that I've got coming up in the future. Alright, take care, thank you.